to start. First of all, let me all issue you with a very warm welcome. Thank you very much for coming here tonight. It's great to see so many people here, many of whom I recognise, some of whom I persuaded to come here. From all political parties, I see some Labourites, I see some Tories. I don't know Lib Dems very well, but I'm sure we've got a few. And then plenty of people from the Debating Society, which should prove to be a very interesting conversation later on. So, before I introduce the speakers and tell you how the debate's going to go, we've got Steve Bullock here, who is one of our speakers, but he'd just like to tell you a little bit about an organisation called Teach First, which is sponsoring the Debating Society and has kindly, well, the Debating Society and Teach First is working together in a partnership to put on this debate tonight. So, thank you very much, Steve.
Like I said, my name's Steve. Well, you'll have your introduce me properly later, but basically I'm a graduate of the Teach First scheme. Put your hands up if you have heard of Teach First. Wonderful. Our brand manager did mention it. So Teach First is an organisation which aims to address the educational divide in England and eventually the UK. We recruit exceptional graduates like yourselves and place them in challenging schools. Originally we started off just in London, but now we're almost covering the whole of the UK for next year. A few points that I've been asked to mention. Teach First is now 7th in the Times top 100 graduate employers. Sorry if you can't see that from the back. We've been climbing and climbing, aiming for number 1. I think we've only got a couple of big well-known places at the moment. The programme consists of a summer institute, which is currently held at the University of Warwick, 6 weeks intensive teacher training, combined with a great deal of support over 2 years commitment in the classroom, which is a paid teaching position. You get paid the same as a standard state teacher. You qualify at the end of the first year of your placement with a PGCE, the same as you would on any other teaching route, and then you spend the second year trying to affect change in the schools in which you're placed. The boss of Teach First, chap called Brett Wigdall, says it's kind of like the mafia, in which you never leave. You become an ambassador when you graduate, and you're encouraged to keep addressing educational disadvantage in whatever field you go on to after that. We've got a lot of links with big businesses, city firms, yeah, Accenture, PwC, the civil service have all accredited our training programme, not just for the educational aspect, but also for the leadership skills that the Teach First ambassadors gain from the programme. Go to PGC, become part of the network of ambassadors. I carried on in teaching for another 2 years after I finished the programme, and now I've just come back to academia. I'm doing a PhD at Bristol, but as graduates go all over the place. Apply online at www.teachfirst.org if you're interested. There's a mailing list going around, which if you've got the slightest bit of interest, please put your name down, and the recruitment team will be in touch just to tell you a bit more if you want. And sorry about this. There's a presentation on Tuesday the 14th at 1:15 to 2:05 in the maths department. Okay? Your recruiter is Laura Muir, and the email address that's missing there is lmuir, M-U-I-R, @teachfirst.uk. Vacancies are really filling up fast this year. We're about halfway full to our 2011 intake. So if you're interested at all, have a look at it now. I want to finish off by introducing Sam. Could you stand up, Sam? Yeah, sure. Sam is one of Bath University's Teach First brand managers who, his job is to promote awareness of Teach First. Like I said, you're obviously doing your job well if you guys know more about it.
So if you've got any questions, just send me Facebook. My name's Sam Warren. Just send me a Facebook or get in contact via webmail. It's saw30@bath.ac.uk. So yeah, any questions, I'm just free to meet. I'm on campus every day. I'm free to meet through the application process or anything. I've just been through the full application process, assessment centres, etc. So should be able to give you fairly good guidance if anyone's interested. So that's all I've got to say. So yeah, just get in contact with any more questions. And if you want to put your name down on the mailing list, then there's a sheet going around somewhere. So yeah, cheers guys.
Thanks, Sam. I'll be around for a little while afterwards as well, so if you want to ask any questions specifically about that, just name it to me.
Right, thanks very much, Steve. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what the evening is going to consist of very quickly, and then we'll get on with the main meat of tonight. So just to introduce myself, I'm Hadley Roberts. I'm a final year student here at the University of Bath, studying modern languages and European studies, French and Spanish. So I recently just came back from placement in France and Spain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce each of the speakers. Then we're going to hear a statement from them lasting 5 minutes, and since we're talking about schools, I'm going to be stricter than the strictest headmaster on timing. They'll have 5 minutes and no more. Then we're going to open it up to the floor. We're going to have questions. Please keep your mobile phones on silent. I'm not going to demand that you turn them off, because we all know that nobody does that. And if you're on Twitter, you can follow us on the hashtag UOBQT, that's University of Bath Question Time. I won't be doing that tonight, but if you want to follow me, I'm Hadley Roberts. It's quite easy to find. And so it's worth mentioning that, as I said before, this is a Teach First night in partnership with the University of Bath Debating Society. Bath University Debating Society, which becomes BUDS, the chair of which Freya is here tonight, and we should thank her for organising this, but we'll do that at the end. And so, just to introduce our first speaker now on my left, he is a honorary professor of education at the Institute of he's honorary professor of education at the Institute of Education at the University of London. So if anybody knows anything about education, it's education, education, education. Before that, he taught in a number of comprehensive schools for about 16 years, right across the United Kingdom. And for over 40 years, he's been a very active member of the Labour Party. So, ladies and gentlemen, David Howell. Our second speaker is a graduate of both Bristol University and the Teach First scheme, and he's already spoken to us tonight. For 3 years he was head of physics at a comprehensive school in London, and last year he helped to set up King Solomon Academy in London, right from scratch. So it's one of these new academies we're hearing about. And Ofsted has since given this academy a rating of outstanding. So please welcome Steve Bullock. And our third speaker is one of our own. He's a second-year politics with international relations student at the university, and he was educated in Worcester, where he stood as a candidate in the local elections last time round, and I believe he's standing again in May, in his hometown. And in Bath, he's the Secretary of Bath Conservative Future. Ed Turner. So, to the best of my ability in that order, we're going to hear the 5-minute statement. So, take it away, David.
Thank you very much, Hadley. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here. Do you believe it or not, I don't ever speak to so many people all at once. So, this is very, very encouraging. Hadley might have said that both my children attended successfully the same comprehensive school as well, so I don't only have a vested interest in state education because I've invested it in terms of my own professional development. Well, I've also not dared to, but been proud to use it for the education of my own children. Look, I want to start with an assumption which, in a sense, explains fully what I want to say in my 4 minutes left, is that whatever future for education in the United Kingdom is envisaged, the role of the state in providing the overwhelming part of it just has to be assumed. To that extent, there is, in fact, and I don't mean to be insulting to the organisers of the meeting this evening, there's a fallacy enshrined in the topic we're debating this evening. The majority of school-aged children currently come from families that either do not desire private educational provision or simply cannot afford it if they did. So asking, in an either-or kind of way, if the future of education in this country is a question of deciding between essentially two kinds of school. Those to which relatively wealthy parents subscribe, which are privately endowed in the main, and those that most families access that are state-funded, is to pose a fictitious problem. In Indeed, even the Coalition's academy policy and its free schools one are not private institutions. They are entirely state-funded ones. So while some case, no doubt, can be made for private forms of school provision, indeed for aspects of state education to be partially privatised, it is unlikely a good argument can sensibly be made that fee-paying school education is anything other than a minority interest. Indeed, currently, less than 7% of families in this country send their children to such schools. Public schools are not remotely public institutions. They're institutions which presently, and I dare say for the future, will be used by a minority of families. Debating the future, then, of school education in this country requires us not to compare and contrast and assess even the relative merits of private schools and government-funded ones, but to ask and answer rather a much different kind of question, which goes a bit like this. What kind of state-funded schooling does the best future for school education in this country require? My view is that such schooling, at the secondary level anyhow, should have at its minimum 8 distinguishing characteristics. First, it should have under 1,500 pupils on roll per school. It should be housed, secondly, in state-of-the-art premises. Thirdly, it should be staffed by highly competent teachers that are committed, and this is essential, to the promotion of equality of opportunity. Fourthly, it should be led by superior school managers. Fifthly, it should delay academic selection for as long as is practicable and celebrate and promote a broad range of achievements and not just success in public examinations. Sixthly, it should avoid prematurely failing pupils by teaching classes as long again as is practicable in mixed ability contexts. Seventhly, it should rather offer a progressive curriculum that offers a broad and balanced education, embracing both traditional and non-traditional subjects. And finally, and eighth, it should embrace a philosophy of teaching that takes seriously active forms of learning so that students in such schools are mostly enabled rather than largely instructed. Now, what kind of schooling is that, I hear some of you thinking? Well, it's of course state-funded comprehensive education at its imagined best, which is what I think the future of schooling in this country should profoundly be about. Recognising immediately, I've been in this game a long time, recognising immediately that the practice of such schooling currently has some way to go to get close to its ideal variant, as I've just described it. But knowing that the comprehensive ideal is still waiting to be achieved is, for this speaker anyway, no reason to abandon it in favour of a form of education, a private kind, the benefits of which are only available to be enjoyed by a minority.
Thank you very much, David. That's your 5 minutes. Great. So that was David putting the case forward for state education. We're now going to go over to Steve Bullock, who's going to talk in favour of academies.
Okay, I'll begin just by saying that you guys are a lot bigger and uglier than the people I'm used to standing in front of teaching. So that combined with the fact that I have no debating background whatsoever, I apologise in advance for any deficiencies in presentation. But moving to the reason I'm here, I want to talk to you about the reason that academies are a good, valid, and appropriate way to further the education in the UK. I'll start off by talking about deficiencies in the current system, move on to talking about the way that academies are one valid option of addressing those deficiencies. So I'm going to use some of my experience combined with some data from a few different sources, which I can reference in questions if you want. But basically, one of the reasons which I believe that the current education system in England is broken.